Hey guys, it's Gwen. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. This is Home to Inspire DIY and Decor. It's been a minute since I did a craft video, so today I wanted to share a Christmas in July DIY video for you. These are just some simple Christmas style decor using Dollar Tree items, and the first project here is just going to be a little candle holder riser, if you will. I'm using one of these signs that came from Dollar Tree. Super cute as is, but we can go ahead and repurpose. I just removed all of the elements that was attached to this wood round, and I also took a pack of 30 stars from Crafter Square. I just went ahead and painted up the round using some ivory chalk paint by Waverly. And for the stars, since I do have to paint up quite a bit, which like I said, it's a 30 pack, I'm going to do this really easy hack using a piece of scrap cardboard. And then I'm going to attach some pieces of, this is masking tape, but you can use painter's tape, duct tape, whatever type of tape you have on hand. And I'm just going to attach it to this piece of cardboard, sticky side up, and then just making sure that it's, adhered to the bottom. I sort of rested it on top of this tablecloth here, and it's sitting just steadily so that when I go to paint, it's not moving around. And this is just an easy way of painting up multiple small pieces of wood or anything that you need to paint without having to hold it and get your hands all dirty. So I think this is a really helpful way, especially when you're painting little embellishments, little beads. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and use up some ivory chalk paint and Waverly, the Waverly brand, and then I just painted all the stars the same color as the wood round. And once that part was done, I took these mica flakes. This is from the Ranger brand from Joann's. It's from their paper crafting area. And with the wet paint, or with the paint still wet, I went ahead and just sprinkled over the stars this really pretty iridescent mica flakes, but the mica flakes weren't really adhering very well, so I took some additional glue and just spread that over each star using a paintbrush, and then just sprinkled additional mica flakes over that. You can also use glitter if you prefer, or if you don't have mica flakes on hand. This is just more of a chunkier, flaky bits. I am not really sure how to explain it. So after all the pieces were dry, I went ahead and started to hot glue all of my stars across the circumference of the wood round. And like I mentioned, it's going to be a candle riser. So it's just going to be a decorative way of displaying your seasonal candles. You can even use this for everyday decor if you wish. This is pretty neutral enough that you can do that. So I'm just using some simple hot glue just to attach all my stars until everything was attached. And with some, I did have to overlap them just to create like an additional row, but I didn't go too far up. I didn't have that many stars on hand, but I thought this was just the perfect height. And this is the right size just to accommodate your typical size 3-pillar candles or 3-wick candles, like the kind not Hobby Lobby, but like if you buy it from Bath and Body Works, typically they sell like that round jarred candle, 3-wick candle. Not really sure how many ounces it is, but this is big enough to accommodate that size, and even larger, because when I went ahead and included or displayed my candle into this riser, there was room on the outside. Then I took this 3-pack of wooden dice, I guess they would be considered dice, from Dollar Tree from Crafter Square, hot glued those pieces to the bottom just to elevate the riser, and just give it some height. Then I took this pitberry garland I already had in my stash, but Dollar Tree always carries these seasonally, and just wrapped it multiple times, creating a ring of sorts, and then just using it to further embellish this wood riser. And that was pretty much done. And this is just a sample of a candle that I went ahead and added to this riser. I made some adjustments to this pitberry garland just to make it a little bit more snug to fit around the candle. You can also use like a candle ring. You can use a small wreath if you have one on hand, or you can use some greenery like floral stems, pine stems, anything that is very Christmas themed type of greenery or florals, and then just use it to encase the candle. That was it for that project. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Moving right along to project number 2, I'm taking one of these faux book stacks from Dollar Tree, and again, this is something they carry seasonally. This is from Valentine's, as you can tell, and all I did was just remove the embellishments once again. Now, you could go a step further and remove that actual paper that has like the different colors and the wording, but that was just too much work for me, so I just removed the ribbon. Anything that was more three-dimensional decor, I just removed, and then the rest I just painted over. So I wasn't too concerned with just painting over this, although this is a slick surface. So if you were not gonna be covering it like I am here, I would definitely recommend removing every bit of the paper as much as you can, because paint does not really adhere well to the slick surface of this decor piece. But since I'm using this craft canvas sheet by Crafter Square, I'm gonna use this to create a faux wood stack. Obviously it's already a faux wood stack, but I'm gonna make it look a little bit more elevated to give it the appearance of linen. So we all like the look of linen, at least I do. I think it makes books look more classier, more, I don't know, it just gives it a little bit more sophistication, I guess. But it's perfect for rustic decor as well. But I just think it really has like that clean look, and I like the look of linen, but I know that linen can be costly, especially if you're just going out there just buying it for crafting with. It can be pricey, I'm sure. I haven't gone out to actually buy it, but nothing beats the price of a $1.25 pack of this canvas sheets from Dollar Tree. This is sort of a newer item that they have out, or a craft supply that they have out in recent times. So you can definitely make so many projects using this sheet pad that comes with 10 sheets of canvas paper. So in lieu of buying the actual linen fabric, I'm going to use the back side of this canvas sheet to make it look like faux linen. Now if you look really closely, this has like that dark beigey color, and it doesn't really have like that canvasy feel like the other side does, where you actually would paint. This is the opposite side, where it has the more brownish beigey tone, and the feel is a little different than the other side, which is the actual canvas side. Now, with that in mind, I came up with the idea of using it as like a faux linen fabric. Now you'll see at the end that it does come out looking really nice, and this sheet pad is very versatile. I mean, you can use it for so many projects and so many different ideas, not just for Christmas. I mean, you can come up with so many things, so many uses for it. And I really like the idea of using it to create like the faux linen fabric look. And you'll be seeing some videos coming up on my channel where I show you different ways, different hacks to use these paper sheets, paper pads, the canvas sheets, just in so many different ways, and just to think outside the box when it comes to using these sheets, because they are very versatile. But right now I'm really loving giving things the look of linen using the backside of the canvas sheets. I think it's genius. But hopefully you guys are enjoying this video, and please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And if you're a current subscriber, thanks so much for continuing to support my channel. Please make sure that you are still subscribed if you want to be, because sometimes YouTube does unsubscribe my subscribers, and I would really love to have you continue being part of my journey. So in all my rambling here about these sheets, I forgot to mention I did paint this faux wood stack using ivory chalk paint by Waverly. I took the canvas sheet, as I mentioned, and then traced out the different parts of the book stack, and then just cutting off the segments or the sections that I needed to cover up the box. And for the front, all I did was just cut the canvas sheet into strips, just so that I would still get that wood paneling look. And all I did was use some hot glue just to attach all of my pieces just to cover the box. Now I didn't worry about the bottom part of the box since it will not be visible, but I did cover the top, the sides, the back, and the front, just not the bottom. And again, the only part that I actually cut strips for was the front side. I could have done it with the sides just to continue with the way that the original book stack looked, but I figured it wasn't really necessary. I was more concerned with the front looking more like a book stack. So next up, I used the calendar page with this Merry Christmas motif on it. And all I did was just cut the wording off. Originally, I was just gonna cut the strip, but decided that I was going to go ahead and fussy cut all around the words and just cut them into 2 separate words. And then after the wording was cut, I went ahead and used some Mod Podge to decoupage that onto the front part of this book stack. Book stacks are really fun to make, especially for the seasons, because they are really easy. They make really quick, simple, but really cute decor for the holidays. And there's just so many ways of creating one. Now, if I wanted to, I could have cut out a vinyl decal using my cutting machine, my vinyl cutting machine. I could have also used some rubber stamps to stamp up some wording on each of these books for the book stack. There's just so many ways of creating a book stack, but since I had this calendar and I've had it for quite some time, I just decided, you know, I'm going to use up some of the elements that are on these calendar pages. And I like the writing on this, the font and everything. So I figured, why not? I'll just go ahead and use up this calendar page. So here, I forgot to mention, I am using some decrepit dust. Now I'm just going to brush this liberally over each of the lines that run across, creating that faux paneling. And I just used a dry brush and then dipped it into this decrepit dust. It's just a powder form, and it creates a vintage or rustic look to your projects. And I really love this product. It is by DIY, the paint company. And again, it's just to add some distressing, make my projects look a little more old, more vintage. And then after everything was cut up, like I mentioned, I went ahead and used some Mod Podge, just glued that on to the faux book stack, used my brayer to help smooth that down. It did take a couple attempts to get this to adhere. I think it's because of the lines that run across the book stack that was sort of making it harder for this writing, for the paper to attach to the wood, or it could be the actual canvas sheet that was making it difficult. But at the end of the day, it all worked out. I did just have to give this a couple good coats of this Mod Podge. I also took additional decrepit dust and just did the same thing as I did with the front. I also did it to the sides and the back, just and the top as well, just to make everything cohesive and give it that rustic look. So now that that part was done, I took the back side of this calendar and I used a little thumbnail picture with the same design of the page that I used, but this is just a smaller scale. And I'm going to use that to embellish the top of my book stack. But before I attach this, I did want to add some ribbon to this book stack. And I'm using this really pretty green ribbon with some stitching along the ribbon, really pretty. And I can't remember where I got this. It could have been Hobby Lobby. I have had it since last year. I just ran it across the middle of the top part of this book and along the side as well, using some hot glue. And then once that was attached, I'm going to go ahead and make a simple shoestring bow, just using a piece of jute twine to connect it to the middle. And then that's going to be glued down to the left corner of my book stack. And then I just went ahead and angled my tails. I didn't do a dovetail or anything like that. I just angled it on each side and then hot glued that down into place. And then I'm going to use that little thumbnail picture and hot glue that to the right side, just like so. And that will wrap up this DIY. Super easy. Came out really cute. And again, just using those canvas sheets was really handy, just to create like a faux looking linen stack of books. Oh, and one last bit was I added this pine cone. It's a little mini pine cone. Has like the white color to it. And voila, that does it for this second project. I love how it came out, and I hope you like it too. And now I'm on to project number 3. So for this one, I'm using another page from a different calendar. I'm also using a Christmas page right here, but instead of the full page, I'm just using the little thumbnail picture in the back. It's a really pretty one that says joy. And I'm going to be making a small little galvanized metal bucket for little floral arrangement. So this is all the size I needed. And I'm also going to be using another page or sheet from the canvas sheet pack. I'm telling you guys, this sheet pack is super cool to have and to just use for DIY projects. You wouldn't really think much of it aside from painting on it, but when I say that if you turn it over and turn it to that darker beige look, it really does look like linen or like a muslin color. And so I'm really having a lot of fun using it for different projects. All I did here was just trace out the front side of that galvanized tin, and I'm gonna just hot glue that down, covering that front side. So now that the canvas sheet has been hot glued on, I'm gonna take some ribbon to embellish my tin bucket. And I'm using this farmhouse ribbon. This is from Hobby Lobby, but Dollar Tree carries similar ones like this. I'm just gonna run one across the top and the bottom of the front side, just to, like I said, just further embellish it. This is looking more like a neutral farmhouse Christmas decor. Now, if you wanted to make this more of an everyday decor, you can forego adding the little image of the Christmas joy word in the front and just put something different. You can use like a farmhouse theme calendar. They have calendars just for farmhouse decor as well, like with different animals and whatnot. That would be a cute idea as well. But this is a Christmas video, so I'm gonna make everything themed for Christmas. Now, again, I'm just using some of these ribbons just to embellish the top and bottom. And then I'm also gonna take a piece of jute twine just to hot glue that across the bottom and the top of each of those ribbon pieces as well. And using that little thumbnail print that I cut out from the calendar, I'm gonna just hot glue that to the front side of this bucket. And that's pretty much as simple as it gets for this project. And it's just a super simple craft idea, but you can embellish this in so many different ways. And this is going to be a little floral arrangement situation. So I don't have all of my Christmas things out from my containers stored in the garage or anything. So I'm just sort of pulling from what I have available in my craft area at home. So I don't really have a whole lot of Christmas stems or greenery or anything on hand for me to really make this look super Christmassy, but I'm gonna do the best I can just to show you an idea of how to create these projects. But again, you can just definitely amp it up using more Christmas looking greenery and florals. If I had all of my things out of my storage, I would be probably using some frosted berries, maybe some pine stems or some poinsettias. But again, I'm using what I have available in my craft area here at home. And that's why a lot of my greenery that I'm using for my projects isn't necessarily super Christmas looking. But then I went ahead and used this really pretty ribbon. This is a buffalo check, red and black, with some additional like scalloped edges. Very cute. And this is from Hobby Lobby. I got this, I believe it was last season, last Christmas. And just create a simple shoestring bow and hot glue that to the center. The twine that I used to connect the middle is the same twine I'm gonna use to hot glue it down to the tin bucket. And then for the tails, I'm just gonna sort of scrunch it up and then hot glue that into place just to keep its shape and position. And that way it doesn't block the wording right there in the middle, the little decoration in the middle. And like I said, this craft couldn't be more simpler. I am going to add a piece of floral foam inside just to give it some height. And I am going to be cutting up some stems. The stems I had that were as neutral as I can get are just some white little flowers. And I'm just going to cut them off of its main pick just so I can better arrange this into the tin bucket. And that way you have more freedom too with how you can fluff them out, arrange them, scatter them, or whatever you have to do, instead of keeping your stems all in that one, one attached stem. And then that little cardinal right there is from Dollar Tree. I just went ahead and clipped it on. And the last finishing touch was some green moss, which I added to the bottom just to hide the floral foam. And that was it for this project. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. This would make a cute little shelf sitter, or just to hang on a peg rack or some type of shelving with some hooks. You can even hang this on a Christmas tree as a bigger ornament, but I hope you guys like that idea. And for the fourth and final project of this video, I am going to share how I made a cutting board using a calendar page. Surprise, surprise. I'm using the back side of this cutting board, which is a fall themed cutting board, but you can use any holiday themed base and repurpose it and make it your own, make it into something completely different. That's the beauty of using Dollar Tree products, because they are cost effective and you can just repurpose them in however you want to. So just to make this easier, I am going to use the back because it's a clean slate. Typically, I do cover the back sides of my projects because I do like to have a finished look, but I'm going to be honest, for this project, I skipped over that step because this is going to be just for me, just to style in my own home. I'm not planning on giving this to anybody. It's just going to sit along or against the wall. Nobody's going to see the backside. It's not going to be anywhere where anyone's going to see what it originally looked like. So with that said, I am not going to be taking the extra step to cover the backside, because typically I get a piece of craft paper and just hot glue that to the back just to cover what it originally looked like. I'm using Ivory Chalk Paint by Waverly and just gave this a good couple coats. Now I'm not being careful or anything, don't care about full coverage at this point, because I am going to be covering this with the calendar page. Now the reason I painted over the bottom is just for the areas where it will be visible. And also, if you don't already know, whenever you decoupage something, it's best to start with a brighter background so that your image or the design on your paper or napkin or whatever it is you're using will shine through just a little bit brighter by having a brighter background color. So I went ahead and just added some Mod Podge to my cutting board and then adhered that calendar page to the cutting board with the help of my brayer. And this is just to help smooth things out. Now I did go ahead and use a mini press from Cricut, which I will also be showing you here shortly. After everything was glued, I took my sanding sponge and sanded away from the project, going downwards just to remove any excess paper. And you want to make sure that when you are sanding, you are doing it away from you and not towards you, because your paper will lift and it will tear. So just make sure that you, for one, wait until your paper is dry, or at least almost dry, completely dry. I'm a little impatient, so mine wasn't completely dry, but I made sure that I was going against me or away from me. So here's the next step. You can use a mini press if you have one. In this, with a parchment paper, or in this case I'm using a wax paper. I didn't have any parchment paper on hand. So what this does is it activates the Mod Podge at the bottom, like it reactivates it. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that right, but basically it makes the Mod Podge wet again, and then allows the iron to glide on and make it sort of gives your paper the ability to have more contact, more evenness, smoothness to your project. So at the end, you'll have more of a smoother finish. That's essentially the goal of using a heat press after you use Mod Podge, because if you use Mod Podge, you will notice wrinkles and bubbling, and by using heat press, it does reactivate that Mod Podge, and then the pressing over the paper will lay your paper down more smoothly. So hopefully that made a little bit of sense to you. So next I use a strip of fabric. Now this is from Dollar Tree, and all I did was cut a piece, a notch in the corner, and then just tore it all the way down, just so I can create more of a frayed edge. And then I hot glued that to the bottom, that little section that did not have the calendar page. And this is just to give it more accent. Now, originally I was going to use that ribbon up top. I also cut that additional piece, and I was going to create a bow, but I wasn't really sure where I was going with that idea, so I just kind of kept it there, so ignore that part for now. I took a strand of black beaded garland. This is from Dollar Tree as well. It already has a tassel attached to it, and it also had another decorative element attached to it, like more for kids' room, but I removed that. Before moving on to that next step, sorry if I'm jumping around here in the explanation, but I took a Dollar Tree ribbon and cut off a piece just to fit across the length of that bottom, and just to add a little bit more color, bring down that red color, and also a little bit more of that wording, or some additional words. It says, I think it says Merry Christmas on it or something. And next I took some jute twine, and then I just wrapped the handle of this cutting board, and this is just for that additional decorative element. I do like the look of jute twine when wrapped around a handle like this, because I think it just brings that farmhouse feel to the project, and it just makes it look more finished, at least in my opinion. But if you don't like that look, you can skip over this part right here and leave it as is. It's really up to you. Now the final step to finish off this project is I'm using a strand of beaded garland. This is the one I mentioned earlier. This is the black beaded garland, and it did have a little rainbow attached to the end, but I just removed that. It was super easy. I just cut that off. And then I removed the excess beads that was on here. I didn't need like a whole full strand, because my plan was to use this as an accent to decorate the handle, and just like this is what my original plan was. But I did have to remove more of the beads because it was a little too long, and I just wanted a few of the beads on there with the tassel attached to it. Now in hindsight, as I'm recording this voiceover, I could probably have cut down that tassel by half, just so it would fit that cutting board size a little bit better and it wouldn't be too long. But it's okay. I think it still looks cute overall. I can always go back later and just trim that down if I really wanted to, but I think that's something that I could have adjusted. The only thing left to do here was to add that little bow that I made using that frayed strip of fabric. And all I did was just hot glue that down to the handle, just like so, and then added one more of those black beads that came from the garland and hot glue that down the center of the bow. Now again, if I did have my Christmas florals available to decorate with or to craft with, I could have used some poinsettias or some red berries or florals just to add to this project, but I didn't have it, so I kept this as is. I can always go back and add anything additional that I wanted to once I have my Christmas stash out. But for now, that will have to do. And I think it came out super cute.